The story begins with Lord Harold breaking off his engagement with Mithria Lilvardi because she was a strong-willed woman, lacking even a shred of femininity. As a final act of kindness, he said he would offer her proper compensation and told her to be grateful for his generous heart. The woman next to him, Dorothea, found him really kind for this gesture. Looking at the woman, Mithria had already figured out why Lord Harold was breaking up with her. She figured he preferred women with big breasts. She told him to get permission from her uncle because she couldn't do anything without his approval. Lord Harold said he knew that and decided to come today to inform her in advance. In any case, she didn't think it was necessary to talk in the middle of the city. Mithria lost her parents 3 years ago due to an outbreak that spread back then, and now her uncle handles the affairs of the domain. Thanks to the support of the Ironstone family, her former fiancé's family, they were barely getting by. But now that the engagement was broken, that support would surely be withdrawn. She didn't want to burden her younger brother with more suffering and decided to work. Mithria Lilvardi was 18 years old. She was the eldest daughter of the noble Lilvardi family, which was on the brink of collapse, and she possessed a slightly different experience from those who were said to have reincarnated from another world. She used to live in a completely different world as an ordinary girl, enjoying her life there until she had an accident while returning from her part-time job. She even liked working back then, so she didn't find labor to be hardship or suffering. It was really rare to find a high-paying job here. While she was looking, someone showed her an ad. Someone was looking for a cleaning staff for the Royal Court Mage Division. In the Kingdom of Eustaria, Royal Mage Corps Gleam Division, the situation was bad. A blonde-haired man was walking around and saw that the situation was still catastrophic, as usual today. Today was the interview day for the cleaning staff, and the squad leaders were really fired up about hiring physically strong cleaners. But he wasn't sure if there was even anyone suitable. However, when the applicants arrived, they were shocked. Nearly half of them were daughters of noble families. Unlike Garvius Aldred, captain of the Red Ruby Squad, Shido Ordrea kind of expected this. The Royal Mage Corps had a high status and excellent pay, so it was a treasure trove of perfect marriage prospects. Nathaniel Murdial was worried about the number of people in there and asked if they were really going through with those interviews. Garvius scolded him because if they didn't fix this chaotic mess, the consequences would reach them too. Nathaniel said no one was even capable of cleaning it in the first place, and at this rate, no work would get done. That's why they must find a cleaner here, no matter what it takes. Among the participants, Mithria was sitting nervously, but she expected that this job would be really popular. She waited 2 hours until it was her turn. She was with the last group and there were 4 people in there. When they sat, Shido explained that this job mainly revolved around cleaning tasks. They would sometimes have to wash tools contaminated with chemicals or carry heavy objects, so he asked in advance if they could manage that. All the ladies calmly responded that they could. Shido asked Mithria, and she said she could. She said that she helped clean their house in town every day, so she had experience with cleaning, organizing, and washing dishes. She said she also knew how to use body enhancement magic, so she could carry anything. The other noble ladies laughed at her, and Nathaniel asked if it wasn't degrading for a noble lady to do household chores herself. Mithria responded that she didn't see that as degrading in the slightest, because being able to take care of her own affairs was something she considered truly valuable. They asked if she wouldn't mind working under someone else's orders, and she said she wouldn't. If she were working for her family, for her home, and even for herself, then that made her genuinely happy because only when she works and earns through her own efforts can she truly understand the value of money and the value of things. She believed this would be an incredibly meaningful experience for her. Also, she had no plans to get married at the moment, so she could work long-term. Confused, Garvius said noble ladies her age were usually already engaged and asked if she didn't want to get married. Mithria responded that her engagement was broken off just yesterday. They were quite surprised, so she explained that her fiancé said she lacked appeal as a woman, but she said she wasn't sad and she could now do what she loved, so she didn't mind at all. Garvius apologized for asking an insensitive question, but she said it was fine. As the last question, they asked what drew her to this job posting. She simply said the salary was high and she would get 3 meals a day and accommodation was included, so she would save on living expenses. They seemed to like how she was honest. Garvius asked when she could start working, and she said right away, if possible. Garvius appreciated her effort today and thanked her for her patience during the interview. The next day, they gathered the ones who passed the interview. The only woman in there was Mithria. She was so happy that she was going to have a good job. Shido informed them that uniforms would now be distributed to them, and each of them would be assigned a room to stay in. Today, they were going to be signing some documents, and work would begin 3 days from now. Nathaniel told them that they could quit if they ever felt like it. She was surprised that they were making this so easy for them after all that effort in the interviews. Nathaniel mentioned that the place they would be cleaning was the Abyss or the Catoic Nest, so they need to be mentally prepared. Everyone except Mithria was uneasy about the situation while she questioned what was going on. Nathaniel went to see the others and informed them that they were getting actual cleaning staff sent to them. They were pretty surprised. Nathaniel said some had come before, but none lasted more than a few days, so they wondered if they would last this time. The other one asked how many of those heroes were there this time. He responded that there were 5 people and one of them was a girl. He said she was such a bright and lovely young lady. The dark-haired one said they handle chemical materials here and heavy experimental tools, so he thought it would be tough for a woman. Nathaniel explained that she could use body enhancement magic. They didn't expect a noble girl to use that kind of magic because it was really rare. He said she was a little odd, but she was fun and unique. She looked super excited to work, like she couldn't wait to start. The blonde one said she would quit if she got married. Nathaniel thought about it for a moment and said it didn't seem like she would, at least for now. He asked what he meant by that, and he said her engagement was broken off because she lacked feminine charm. Worried, they asked if she was okay. Nathaniel said she didn't seem to care at all and was actually happy because she could finally do what she loved. Normally, that kind of situation would be a huge shock, enough to put any girl in bed for days. The blonde one seemed to be curious to see what kind of noble lady she was going to turn out to be. In the next scene, Mithria's little brother finished her preparations. Isheldin was worried about her sister and asked if she was really leaving now. She smiled at her brother and said she was. Isheldin was upset and apologized for not being able to help her more. Mithria told him not to worry about that and to focus on his studies properly because he would be the lord of this region one day, and that she should be the one apologizing for making him worry. Ishel strictly told her that she had done nothing wrong, and the one at fault was that disloyal man. Their maids and butlers agreed with Ishel. He told Mithria that she was always welcome to come back if she ever felt tired. She thanked him and said she would be fine. She had always wanted to work, so she was actually excited. She said she would have several days off each month and she would come back during those times. With that, it was time for Mithria to head off. When she arrived at the place, she realized that this place would be her workplace and home starting today, and she promised herself to do her very best. Inside, she was welcomed by Irina Orlean, the one in charge of the female staff. Mithria greeted her and said she hoped she would be up to the task. Irina showed Mithria her room first. It was originally made for 2 people, but since she was the only maid from the Violet Gleam division, she could use it alone. She added that the first floor was for males, and the second floor was for females. Entering the first floor was forbidden. Even though it was still early, they were going to head to the Violet Gleam division once she finished changing. She responded that she didn't mind starting early. Irene asked if she was ready, and she responded that she was, without a doubt. After she changed her clothes, Irene told her that the squad leader was over there and told her to get her instructions from him. After that, Irene left. Mithria knocked on the door and excused herself in. The place was covered with papers and dust, even the walls, so she wasn't sure if it was all right for her to enter this room. Nathaniel told her not to worry about the papers on the floor because they were all unnecessary things. She listened to him and said she was going to start working today. She introduced herself and said everyone called her Mithril, and that she would be happy if they called her that too. The other one asked if she meant it like the rare, extremely tough metal, and she confirmed him. Although their family's land wasn't very large, they had a mine that produced high-quality mithril, so she was named after it. She said she was unbreakable, uncrackable, unshakable, and the strongest in the world, so they could leave everything to her. They really seemed to like her, and Nathaniel welcomed her to their Violet Gleam division. He said they would be out for a while and they were leaving things to her now. She said she would do her best to meet expectations. He looked at her and noticed how small she was. He introduced himself as Alfred Ludegar, the second son of Duke Ludegar, and stated that he served as the vice captain of the Violet Gleam division, since both his father and brother also worked at the royal palace. He asked her to call him Alfred. He also explained that the man with the purple hair she saw earlier was the captain of this division, and the other person was Joel Feltz, the other vice captain, just like Alfred. Currently, there are around 50 people in the Violet Gleam division, so each person is in charge of cleaning 10 rooms. He asked if she could start by cleaning the captain's room, and she was more than willing to show her skills. Alfred seemed surprised by her attitude. When they left, Mithril covered her face with a mask and started cleaning. The place was dirtier than she thought it was. She asked Alfred if he had an unused large bag to collect the dust in. He thought about it for a moment and promised to get her one by tomorrow. To help her out, he used his fire skill to burn the dust. The dust disappeared completely and even the floor wasn't scorched. She thanked him. They continued with cleaning the dust on the books. Before Alfred knew it, he was helping her with his own hands. But now that he thought about it, it never once occurred to him to clean or organize something he used himself, because he always thought that was the servant's job. Mithril commented on how thorough he was with his work. He said he wasn't used to it and wasn't sure if his help was worth much. She said that wasn't true because he even carefully wiped the dust off the books and sorted everything so neatly, which helped her a lot. She said he had a real talent for cleaning. Alfred responded that she was the one who truly had that talent. Mithril was happy to hear that because ever since she was little she used to help the maids with their work, and she felt like her efforts were finally paying off. Alfred already knew that this girl had grown up being loved by the servants too. She was honest, bright, and even after her engagement was broken off she kept moving forward without looking back. She was the complete opposite of him. He said that he would like to learn how to clean properly. Mithril found this idea great. She then noticed that he laughed a little and then thought she might be imagining things. When Nathaniel and Joel returned, they were shocked to see the clean room. She said she was going to organize the papers scattered on the floor now. She said she found a cloth under the captain's desk and asked if she could throw it away. But Nathaniel didn't want her to throw that out because he liked it. She said it was super dirty, and it smelled weird too. He said he just uses it to cover himself a bit when he naps, so it was still usable in his opinion. Shocked, Mithril asked if he had ever washed it even once. He said he was the squad captain and was always buddy, so it wasn't quite at the point where it had to be thrown out. Just as Mithril thought, Nathaniel was one of those people who couldn't throw things away because of a saving mindset. On top of that, he was lazy and didn't wash his clothes. She told him to listen carefully and stated that dirty men were disliked. Nathaniel was shocked and said his wife and daughter never said anything. She told him that if he kept living like this, the day would come when he would hear things like disgusting and filthy, and it was only a matter of time before someone said that to him. Nathaniel was so scared that her daughter wouldn't want him to come near her. She said that that's why she was throwing this cloth away and asked if he would mind. Nathaniel had no choice but to agree with her. Alfred was stunned, so she asked what was wrong. He said it was nothing. She was going to insist, but then heard the lunch bell ringing. Nathaniel told her to take a break from cleaning and working and asked Mithril to come with them. She asked if she could join them, and he said it was her first time working in the royal palace, so he would show her where the dining area was and how it worked. Alfred encouraged her, so she was happy to join them. At the dining hall, Mithril couldn't help but notice that she stood out way too much because she was sitting with the captain and the vice captains, and all three of them were incredibly handsome too, especially Lord Alfred. No one would be surprised if you told them he was a prince. Just standing next to him makes the gazes of women pierce through her like daggers. But she knew there was no point in thinking about it because she needed to focus on the food now. The food was so delicious that she couldn't help but say that she was really happy that she got this job. Nathaniel said it should be natural, but she said they rarely ever eat white bread like this. Joel asked if managing the fief was that difficult. She explained that they had to borrow from neighboring fiefs 3 years ago, during the great crop failure, and now they were repaying those debts, so things weren't very easy. Alfred asked if that was the reason why she decided to work, and she said that was one of the reasons, but also she genuinely enjoys working. When she was little, she used to help with the wheat harvest, plow the fields, and even go hunting in the mountains. But ever since she got engaged, she tried to act like a noble lady, and even so, she felt like this kind of life suited her more. Even if she had gotten married like she was supposed to, she didn't think she would have been able to endure it. She didn't expect to be betrayed, but it didn't matter to her anymore. She needs to eat well and give it her all during cleaning this afternoon. After lunch, she continued working until Alfred came and told her that it was enough for today. There was just a bit of documentation sorting left, and it would probably be done by tomorrow. He had been helping her this whole time, so she felt like she had been bothering him too much. He said it was fine because even for them, it would be helpful if the captain's office were tidied up. They would help until this place was completely clean. Mithril thanked him once again. Nathaniel said she did a great job and waved at her. She thanked them for their hard work and left the room. At least the first day passed peacefully, so she was relieved and couldn't wait to eat dinner. However, while walking in the hall, she couldn't ignore those stains, especially the spots people pass through. So she started cleaning everywhere people pass through. She decided to stop after cleaning the floors and felt really happy that they had decided to hire her. When Garvias and Shido were going to Nathaniel's office, they were surprised to see the hallway looking so clean. They couldn't even remember when was the last time they saw this place this clean. But it seemed like the cleaned area was only the hallway leading to the captain's office. Shido said it was impossible to clean everything on the first day, so it was normal. When they entered Nathaniel's room, they were even more shocked because the floor was visible. The place had been tidied up so much. Shido couldn't believe they managed all this with just a few people. Nathaniel stated that there was just a girl, kind of a strange one, and she was the one who cleaned everything on her own since early morning. Alfred helped a bit, but he barely did anything. Garvias was amazed by this girl. Nathaniel found her amazing too and said she even expressed her opinions frankly to him and didn't hesitate at all when throwing things out. Thanks to you, the place has become this clean. Shido was surprised because even though Nathaniel seemed gentle at first glance and easy to fool, He was a scholar through and through, and when needed she used force to push his opinion, and he could say he was, in a way, the most dangerous person in this magic squad. Even so, many quit out of fear of his overwhelming magical power. Shido commented that the girl didn't seem scared of him at all, and Nathaniel agreed. He asked about the rest of the cleaning staff and he said they all came by to say hello in the afternoon. That way they confirmed that the one who cleaned the hallways was also Miss Lilverdly. Nathaniel was confused. Dugarvia said it was better if he saw it himself instead of explaining. He opened his room and saw the place clean, but there was something strange because she was cleaning this room the whole time. They figured that she had cleaned it after working hours. They were glad she was working hard from day one, but if she overexerts herself and quits, they would be in trouble. She was a rare person with genuine competence. Nathaniel agreed with others and added that she was also a kind girl. When he mentioned that Alfred started to get along with her, Garvius was shocked because Alfred was rude to every girl he had ever encountered. He would coldly and firmly reject confessions from noble girls, so he couldn't even imagine that. Shido said it was fine, and he was a smart boy who caught on quickly. Here was no doubt that Miss Lilverdly had no hidden intentions towards him. Nathaniel said he hadn't seen Alfred's gentle expression like that in a long time. After all he heard about Mithril, Garvius wanted to see her again. Shido said there would be a chance to talk to her later. In any case, the place really had become clean. They truly hoped she would continue working here at the Violet Gleam headquarters. In the next scene, Mithril was done with cleaning Nathaniel's room. They were all amazed that she was able to clean this place in just 2 days, and the table and sofa had been set up too, so now it worked perfectly as a reception room. Nathaniel thanked her for everything. He then gave her the room list. She was responsible for cleaning 10 rooms, including his and Alfred's. It was going to be tough, but they knew she would do her best. The next room she was going to be cleaning was Alfred's room. Before entering it, Alfred told her that it might be a bit messy. She wouldn't mind anything but was surprised to see the room clean. At this rate, just sweeping the floor and dusting would be enough. Alfred said he tidied up a bit yesterday. Mithril was confused because he knew there was a cleaning worker. He said it was because he learned how to clean, which meant that he wanted to apply what he learned. Alfred couldn't look at her eyes when she said that, but Mithril already saw his red ears. She smiled and commented that he was an amazing person, because actually putting into practice what he had learned and being able to do it himself was never easy. This was the first time someone had said that to him because they always told him that it was natural for him to be able to do everything. Mithril explained that it was because he was a talented person. They might say that because they knew he was capable, which means many people know he was amazing, but that didn't mean it was okay to withhold praise from others. She said that expectations, if not accompanied by appreciation, would turn into pressure, and that was not a good thing. That's why she told him to thank someone when they praise him. To give it a try, she said he was amazing and he thanked her. In the next scene, Joel was working and he noticed that Alfred was sitting in front of him. Confused, he asked if he wasn't heading to clean the room with Miss Lilverdly. He said he was, but since they finished, he moved to the next room. He was surprised at first, but then started to get used to her hard-working skills. Alfred noticed how she never stopped smiling while cleaning. He could feel her kindness just by watching her. She worked hard and laughed wholeheartedly. Even he found himself smiling without realizing it. He said he should get back to work too. The next day, Mithril prepared herself and decided to clean a bunch today too. However, when she tried to leave the room, her door didn't open. She tried over and over again, but it wouldn't open. She thought about destroying it, but it would be reckless. But if she stayed like this, she would be late, so she thought about something else. She opened her window and looked around. She decided that she didn't have a choice, so she climbed down the window and landed safely. And she still had some time left. She made it just in time because she wasted too much time hesitating. When she entered, her colleagues glared at her and didn't even greet her. She started to notice that her colleagues didn't like her. She wondered if she had done something to upset them. When she looked at the storage, there was only a bucket and a mop. She started to feel like this was all intentional. She calmed herself because as long as she had a mop, she could still clean and do her job perfectly. At lunch, she picked out her food and the captains called for her. Nathaniel asked if she would like to join them, and she was happy to. They asked how the cleaning was going, and she said she would finish the 4th room today. Nathaniel commented that she was working hard, and she thanked him. She was so happy that they praised her. Nathaniel informed Mithril that a package had arrived for her and asked if she knew what was inside. Confused, she looked at the box and noticed that it was moving a little. It seemed like there was a living creature inside. Alfred didn't sense any magic coming from it. She asked if she could open, and they were shocked that she wanted to open. She thought it might be better to open it outside. But Joel said if there was a living creature inside, they had to let it out, because it would be cruel otherwise. He was surprised she would open something from an unknown sender so boldly, but they couldn't just throw it away either. Alfred stood up and said they should go check it out. They went outside, and Nathaniel started casting out a spell so it wouldn't be able to escape. Mithril thanked him and slowly opened the box. Inside there were 3 green worms. Excited, she asked if she could keep it as a pet, but then remembered that she wasn't allowed to keep pets in the servants' wing. Nathaniel said it was true, but he was just surprised that she wasn't afraid of bugs. She said she used to catch bugs all the time when she was little. She asked what they should do with it. Nathaniel asked her to give it to him and put them inside the bushes. He asked if the package was not sent from her family just to be safe, and she said it wasn't. Nathaniel asked her to go back to cleaning, and they had a work-related matter to discuss. She said okay and excused herself. She wondered if this package was also part of the harassment. Even though the worm was cute and actually made her feel better, things might turn out much worse for her. She wondered why everyone hated her so much. She just wanted to get along with everyone. Meanwhile, Nathaniel and the boys were talking about how this was a form of harassment. Joel stated that the beautiful decoration around the box makes it seem even more malicious. Nathaniel decided to keep the box because they might need it once they identified the culprit. They decided to keep a close eye on Mithril because something else might happen later. Alfred thought they had only known her for a few days, but her presence brought a cheerful atmosphere and made the place feel more comfortable, and he didn't think he wanted to lose that warmth, and it might be the reason why he couldn't ignore what was happening. 1 week later, Mithril came with another news. She said a rat was sent to her, a snake dropped on her, and even water. But she claimed that she was fine and there was no big deal. Joel didn't think that really counts as fine. She said she didn't remember doing anything that would make someone hate her. She then started freaking out, thinking she might have made a mistake without realizing it and unknowingly bothering someone. Nathaniel stated that they haven't received any complaints or reports of mistakes so far, and he could confirm that she had been doing her job really well. Alfred told her not to keep everything bottled up and to tell them if anything was bothering her. Nathaniel asked if anything was bothering her. She thought about it for a moment and decided to say that her room door wouldn't open. It seemed to be sealed with magic and it wouldn't budge at all. Confused, they asked how she got out of the room. She said she had been getting in and out through the window using the drainage pipe since she couldn't destroy the door. Alfred couldn't believe what he was hearing. She said she was reinforcing her body with magic, so even if she fell, she wouldn't get hurt. Alfred told her that this was not the point here. Nathaniel approached her and put a fake smile on his face, asking her to go to the room right away, right now. They went to her room, and Nathaniel confirmed that the door was sealed shut with magic. But it was okay because Nathaniel could easily remove it. Irene couldn't believe this and told her that she needed to report things like this to them immediately. Mithril apologized, but Irene knew this wasn't her fault. But entering and exiting through a window was a security risk, and she needed to make sure not to do that again. Nathaniel broke the seal and asked her to try opening the door now. Thanks to him, the door opened very easily. Coming through the door really made her feel like she was coming home. In the next scene, Mithril was swiping the floors when another maid came and told her to come with her. She started walking somewhere, but Mithril didn't follow her as she told her to do. When she noticed that, she asked why she wasn't following her. She said she was told not to go with strangers. This time the girl grabbed her wrist and started dragging her. When she brought her outside, the other maids started making fun of her appearance, saying she looked plain and was poorly dressed. Shocked, Mithril wondered if this was what they called a summon. She didn't think anyone would do that. The girl noticed that she was eavesdropping on their conversation. She apologized and asked what this was about. The girl told her to stop working as a maid at the Violet Gleam place and to resign immediately. She told her that she didn't belong in this place and they were sure the members of the Violet Gleam were feeling uncomfortable as well. She responded that if they thought she was unnecessary, then they would dismiss her right away. The girl got mad and attempted to slap her in the face, but Mithril grabbed her hand. The bully girl realized that she wouldn't be able to beat her, so she told the man to teach the girl her proper place. The boy approached her and grabbed her hand. He said he had no grudge against her, but they asked him to disfigure her. Mithril confirmed that he was going to attack her, so she said what she was about to do would be legitimate self-defense. She grabbed his arm and threw him to his other friend with ease. The others got involved, but she defeated them and told everyone that she was a woman, not a wench. After that, Alfred's voice was heard, telling them to stop right there. The other maids acted like Mithril was the first one to attack without a reason, but Joel said everything they did was recorded by a magical device. They all saw what they did to her. Alfred asked if there was anything they wanted to say now. The boy said he was only told to do that. Alfred knew he was from a ducal family and he could refuse the order, and when he didn't, he became an accomplice to the crime. He told the guards to arrest those 6. Crimes within the royal palace must be judged by the king. After that, Alfred said he would escort her to the servants' tower. Mithril said she was fine and told him to return to his duties, but he didn't want to leave her alone. He asked if she was hurt. She said she activated body reinforcement, so she didn't get a single scratch. Alfred apologized for causing her great trouble, but Mithril told him that none of the Violet Gleam members were at fault. and on top of that he came rushing to save her. Alfred couldn't help but comment on how strong she was. She said it was because she was from Mithril. Just as he said, he escorted her to the servants' tower and asked if she had work tomorrow. She said tomorrow was a day off, so she thought she would visit home and greet everyone. Before she entered her room, Alfred stated that he would be happy if she didn't resign. She was serious, polite, and everyone praised her, and they really appreciated having her with them. Mithril was so happy to hear that and thanked him for his beautiful words. She loved this job too, so she wouldn't resign. The pay was good and the treatment was excellent as well. As she left, Alfred realized that her strength, sincerity, and radiance were all the things he lacked, yet they shone so brightly before him. At that moment, he realized that he had fallen in love with her. Meanwhile, Phaeus Ironstone was scolding Lord Harold for annulling his engagement with Mithril. Phaeus knew all this was because their father and mother spoiled him too much. His engagement to Miss Lilvardi was an official agreement between the heads of both families, and now he broke that off of his own will. It was practically a declaration that House Ironstone was untrustworthy. Lord Harold said it wasn't a formal contract yet. Phaeus told him that they had already introduced him as her fiancé to the families connected with them. But since they haven't married yet, Lord Harold thought he could just say he called off the engagement. But then they would say he was a foolish man, and that their family was the house that raised a laughingstock. He decided to explain it in a way even someone like him could understand. He asked if he knew where they were getting the weapons and armor, and the precious metals for the jewelry sold in their lands. Lord Harold knew it was from the territory of Mithria. The mithril ore extracted from there was sold at extremely high prices, and thanks to his engagement, they were getting the good metals at discounted rates. Lord Harold said that the family was in debt to them, but if they had been dealing at fair prices, they would have repaid their debt a long time ago, and besides, he asked if he remembered when he caught that plague 3 years ago. Apparently, the medicine that saved his life was also from them. They could have forgiven their debt in return, but they insisted on repaying the favor. And since they felt that didn't match the value of what they did, they offered them additional support from their side. He thought the noble house Lilvardi depended on them, but in reality, they were he ones who depended on them. After their father received a letter from their house explaining what had happened, he was furious, and Phaeus was disappointed in him as well. They were going to pay compensation, and from now on, they would deal at full price without any discounts. The family was going to suffer economically, and its reputation would be stained as well, all because of Lord Harold. Harold suggested re-establishing the engagement. Faye asked if he really thought someone who betrayed his fiancé and broke off the engagement literally would be forgiven just like that. And her lover Dorothea was from the house of Count Brandley. Lord Harold was shocked that his brother knew that. He told Lord Harold that Dorothea Brandley was known among the noble youth as a one-night girl. That's why he kept warning him to be careful about his social relationships. Lord Harold didn't agree with his brother because apparently Dorothea said she loved him. Dorothea played with fire more than she should have, and now no one wanted to marry her. And he, with his foolishness and ignorance of rumors, fell right into the trap. The Brandley family was infamous for their extravagance, which is why their father would never approve of such a marriage. If they tied themselves to them, they would never stop draining their money. He asked what he didn't like about Miss Lilvardi because they were childhood friends. Lord Harold corrected him that they were never friends, and she was always stronger than him. He aspired to become a knight, but to marry a woman who was better than him with a sword would be unacceptable. Phaeus couldn't believe it just because of that, but apparently it was an important issue for Lord Harold's ego. The next day, Mithril woke up refreshed. It was nice that the weather was sunny since she was on a break today. She went outside and started looking for someone. A woman named Ariella appeared and greeted her. Mithril and Ariel were good friends, and Mithril missed her so much. Ariella mentioned that her letter really surprised her, but she was glad to see her doing well. She had so many questions, so she told Mithril to get ready. Meanwhile, at the division, Nathaniel and Joel were talking about Lord Alfred and Miss Lilvardi's relationship. Joel felt like the two of them were a perfect match. Nathaniel said their personalities were complete opposites, and it might be the reason why they were working well together. He was surprised at how kind Allred was toward her. But when Joel asked him about her before, he said she was eccentric, and that's what made her special because mages prefer odd people. Nathaniel didn't think it was wise to interfere too much these days, so it was best to let things unfold naturally. Joel agreed. When Mithril told Ariella what happened, she was quite annoyed at Lord Harold. Ariella told her why she went through all the trouble of working at the royal palace when she could have just taken the compensation and been done with it. It was entirely his fault anyway. She said she would accept the compensation, but she planned to use it to repay the debts she had borrowed, so she wanted to earn money to cover her living expenses. Ariella was upset about her situation, but Mithril told her not to worry as she truly loved her work. Ariella looked at her like she realized something and said she was from Mithril after all. She then asked which section she was cleaning, and Mithril said it was the Violet Gleam section. She was shocked because that place was nicknamed the Chaotic Nest because of how filthy it was. She was worried that she might not be okay in there. Mithril told her friend that it wasn't that terrible. It was messy, but not to the point of trash piling up to the ceiling or being packed with junk. It seemed like no one knew how to organize the place. Most members of the Mage Corps were nobles, and many of them had never cleaned for themselves, so it made sense a bit. And even the cleaning staff used to be nobles, so it was natural they would struggle if they weren't used to it. Someone like her being able to handle everything and do all the housework was really rare in this world. But it was odd because Mithril had never heard that the red ruby or amber sections were dirty, so she wondered why. Ariella thought it might be because they were always outside. Red ruby specializes in fighting magical beasts, and amber handles royal family protection and disaster relief. Meanwhile, violet gleam specializes in toxic magic research, so they stay in one place all the time. After Ariella's brilliant assumption, Mithril figured out why the place was so dirty. Ariella couldn't believe she didn't know that before she started working there. Ariella didn't know what kind of experiments they ran there, but she still told her to run away immediately if she ever felt like she was in danger. Mithril told her not to worry because if it was really dangerous, they wouldn't let her near the place to begin with. Ariella was still worried, but just told her to be careful. After that conversation, it was time for Mithril to go. Ariella told her to feel free to drop by any time if anything happens. She was her dearest friend, so her home was always open to her. Mithril really loved her friend. After saying goodbye, she finally arrived at her home. It felt so comforting to go back. Annie and Vance greeted her and she hugged everyone. Vance said the young master was also waiting for her. As she entered, she noticed that the house was still neat and clean. She apologized to Annie because if she had been here, they wouldn't have to work so hard. Annie told her that she was still strong and that this work was no burden for her. Besides, if she had trouble, she asked Mr. Vance for help. Vance teased Annie for taking advantage of a poor old man, but she said he was only 2 years older than her. Mithril thanked them both because they were always working so hard that she wanted to work harder too. Vance told her that she was already doing more than enough and if she overworked herself, the young master would be upset. Speaking of which, Ishil came downstairs to greet his big sister. He was so happy to see her and they went to his room to catch up. She asked if anything had happened while she was away. Ishil said there wasn't much and asked how it was for her. He assumed the job was tough and told her not to overdo it. Mithril comforted him that she was not overexerting herself, and that everyone in the Violet Gleam was kind, and that the work was enjoyable every day. Ishil was a bit relieved. He then informed her that a letter came from their uncle Sylvia, and another from the Ironstone family. Curious, Mithril opened the letter and saw that they were starting discussions about the engagement annulment and renegotiating the terms. But in the end, it seemed this would bring some financial stability to their territory. They would also send them money, and with her salary they would manage. In other words, her engagement to Harold had been officially annulled. Ishil was glad that it happened before the wedding because just thinking that someone who would cheat while engaged might have become his brother-in-law gave him chills. As for Count Ironstone, he agreed to follow their trade terms, and the rest of the letter was just an apology. The Count had always been fond of them since they were little, and when their parents passed away, he was the first to come to their aid. He used to say he was waiting for the day she would call him father, and she thought the same. It was sad that she wouldn't be able to call him that anymore. Ishil was also upset about that, but she said there was no helping it and they must not forget what he had done for them, and they should continue to support him when needed. Ishil had to tell her that her kindness might get her into trouble. She didn't really understand what he meant, but what happened was inevitable. She knew Harold didn't love her. It all started when she joined him in sword training. He wanted to become a knight, but every time they dueled, he lost, and over time he began to avoid her. Because he lost to a younger girl in swordsmanship, his pride was completely shattered. At the time, she didn't realize it and kept challenging him over and over, defeating him every time. Thanks to him, she learned body enhancement techniques, but in return, she wounded her fiancé's heart. Ishil asked if she was thinking of never getting married. She said she was not thinking about that right now. Ishil heard there were many eligible people in the Mage Corps and asked if it was true. He wondered if there was someone who had caught her eye. The first person she thought of after that question was Alfred. She was confused as to why she thought about him because he was from a ducal family. While they were merely from a minor Viscount house, marrying her would bring him more drawbacks than benefits. An ordinary person like her wouldn't suit someone like him, so she said there was no one. She added that if she ever met someone suitable and they got along well, then she would marry him. But living a carefree single life like uncles was a bad option. Annie and Vance joined the conversation, saying there was no need for marriage if she was happy without it, and there was no point in it if it didn't bring happiness. Mithril didn't regret her choices, but sometimes she worried. Even so, as long as people were wishing her happiness and people who needed her, she believed she could keep moving forward and keep trying her best. She smiled and told them that she was in the happiest days of her life right now. The next day, Nathaniel heard what had happened and was glad that she was doing well. She reassured him that something like that wouldn't bring her down. After that, she went back to work. She then saw Lord Alfred and asked if something mattered. He responded that the storage space wasn't enough and asked if it would be alright if he left this equipment here for a short while. He promised to move it tomorrow or the day after. She said it would be no problem. Alfred asked if she was really okay. Since that incident, it seemed like she had been facing some harassment after joining the Violet Gleam section. She didn't know what to say, so she just smiled at him. He asked if she ever thought about quitting or if her family objected to this. She realized that she had forgotten to inform her family about this issue. It didn't seem that important, but she promised to write them a letter, and she promised that she wouldn't resign. Alfred somehow seemed relieved and said he appreciated that. Seeing his bright face, Mithril recalled when Ishal asked her if there was something she was interested in. She tried to convince herself that there was no one, but she knew Lord Alfred was a really good person. He was kind, serious, and always trying to maintain order and organization. His expression may be stern, but deep down he was a sensitive person. He kept his distance from others, but he cared about her and asked about her, and even showed concern for her. She thought it might be because he wasn't good at expressing himself. She got distracted for a moment and cut her finger. Worried, Alfred asked what was wrong, and then he saw the needle. This was Mithril's first time being targeted like this. Alfred got mad that this was still happening even now. She tried to convince him that it was nothing serious. Cleaning tools were being hidden, being ignored, and these needles were just childish pranks, and that was all. Alfred held her bleeding hand and said this cannot be called a prank. He used his power to heal her finger. He was so close, and Mithril could see his eyelashes, his blue eyes, and his beautiful face being well balanced. They ended up getting a lot closer than necessary, and she was pretty distracted. He said the wound should be fully healed with that. He said he would get rid of the needles too. She thanked him and said she would be taking her leave now. But the door didn't open again. It was the same spell that was used last time, and it was most likely triggered when they saw her entering. She couldn't believe they would do that, even though he was here. Alfred used his power again to open the door. She was glad that he was here because otherwise she would have had to break the door down. Alfred told her not to hesitate to break it next time, and they would hold the culprit accountable. She felt reassured and said she would. When Alfred returned to his room, he was still thinking about how her face suddenly came close and he flinched. Just like how Mithril observed his face, he noticed her features too. Her dark violet eyes up close had a faint silvery glow like the sky moments before nightfall. And the hand that touched him was also small. She made him want to embrace her without thinking. But to hug her out of nowhere like that would be just him and the knights. The only one allowed to do that was the fiancé. Even with his former fiancé, he never felt this way. He was convinced that this was a serious illness. Meanwhile, Mithril was about to clean the windows and encountered a beautiful-looking man. He didn't look like he was from the Mage unit, so she greeted him and asked if there was something he needed. He surprised her with his laugh and made her question herself. He apologized for giggling and told her not to mind him. He asked if she could guide him to the Supreme Commander of the Violet Gleam. While they were walking there, he said how this place was surprisingly clean, even though he had heard how people called it the Abyss. Mithril responded that they clean it regularly every day now. He smiled and said he should thank her. She said she only takes care of a small part and she haven't done anything worth mentioning. The mages of the unit helped her a lot. He found her pretty humble. She responded that it was because it was the truth. There were many nobles in this place, so they simply didn't know how to clean or organize things. And now, as he could see, the place was clean. He said it would be thanks to her since she was the one doing the cleaning. She smiled and explained that even if cleaning was done daily, if people were really making a mess, then no number of hands would be enough to clean it all. The conversation ended when they arrived at the Supreme Commander's room. He thanked her for guiding him and entered the room. Mithril felt like she had seen this person before and then realized that he resembled Lord Alfred. Now that he might be from the Duke's family, she thought she might have acted a bit too casually with him and decided to be more careful next time. The man entered the room and Nathaniel greeted him. He said it was an honor to greet His Highness the Third Prince. He told him to take it easy because they were not strangers. This person was Konig Ordoya Eustaria, Third Prince of the Kingdom of Eustaria. Nathaniel asked if he had sneaked around the palace without an escort again and said they were going to scold him. Prince Konig responded that he was in charge of the mage unit anyway, and he could protect himself. Even so, he said the place had changed a lot, and not long ago, it looked like a garbage dump. He heard that the noble lady, daughter of Viscount Lilverdy, the one who cleaned up this den and had met her in the hallway, guided him here. But she didn't realize he was royalty. She was speaking with him casually during the guidance, and that natural behavior was really refreshing for Prince Konig. Alfred deeply apologized and said he would make sure to warn her properly. Prince Koenig said it was fine because the situation was amusing as it was. He wanted to bet on when she would finally realize it, but Alfred didn't want to bet. Regarding the knights and maids who tried to assault her in the royal palace, it turned out this was the first time, and there were other victims as well. That recording became solid evidence for their conviction, and they would receive strict punishment for what they had done. Nathaniel assumed Alfred felt powerless for not being able to help her right away and thanked him. Even so, Prince Koenig said the way Lady Lilverty stood up to them was truly remarkable. Even his older brother, after watching the recording, said he wanted to make her a knight. Nathaniel mentioned that Mithril really was an amazing girl, and she was even admired by the second prince, who leads the knight division. Prince Koenig asked if her nickname meant the Metal One, and they explained that she requested to be called that. Nathaniel said she had been bullied by her peers ever since she joined here, but she never showed any sign of distress. If they hadn't noticed, things might have continued unchanged. It wasn't proper to use a name like that as a nickname for a noble lady, but there was no denying that the color of her hair really resembled swords and ornaments made of mithril. Seeing a noble girl who was strong both physically and mentally, he couldn't help but regret letting her go. He asked if she couldn't join the Knight Division now, but Alfred immediately responded that this was not possible. He stated that she was an irreplaceable member of the Violet Gleam unit. Prince Koenig kind of figured out what was going on and didn't insist on this issue. He said he would be heading back now. He mentioned that the additional budget for the Violet Gleam had been improved too. Nathaniel asked Lord Alfred to escort the prince. While they were walking, Prince Koenig used his earring to create an invisible barrier and said it had been a long time since they talked like this. Alfred said that was true and called him his older brother. Alfred, as the fourth prince of the Kingdom of Eustaria, was born into this world 22 years ago, but the kingdom concealed the existence of the fourth prince, and shortly after his birth, he was handed over to the Duchy of Ludegar. On the day he turned 7, he met his real father, the king, and that's when he learned the truth about himself. To fully understand the story, we must go back to the founding of the Kingdom of Eustaria. Long ago, there was a dragon who stood above all other magical beasts, leading them to kill humans and take over their lands. Amidst this destruction, a single human rose to confront the dragon and after a long, fierce battle, managed to slay it. But at the moment of its death, the dragon cast a curse upon him. Since then, among his descendants, someone would occasionally inherit that curse, and the royal family of Eustaria, his bloodline, still bears that curse to this day. He was told that he was the one who inherited it in this generation. Since childhood, whenever his emotions intensified, scales would appear on parts of his skin, his pupils would become slit-like, and his claws and fangs would grow. That was truly the dragon's curse. In order to appear before people, he had to control his emotions, so he was trained by a private tutor who knew of his condition. He wasn't allowed to feel sadness, anger, or even intense joy. The training was harsh, and eventually he gave up having emotions altogether. By the time he turned 15, he had become a person who showed no expression of happiness, anger, sadness, or pleasure. He never left the Duke's estate until he came of age at 16, and even when noble sons and daughters spoke to him in aristocratic circles, he always wore a cold, expressionless face. Because of that, he was dubbed the Ice Prince, but he never cared in the slightest. Then at age 17, he became engaged. It was a marriage arranged by the royal palace and the Duchy of Ludegar, but because she chose to stay by his side despite what he was kind to her and spent time with her as much as he could. 2 years later, on the day she came of age, he revealed the truth to her and transformed before her eyes, but she screamed upon seeing him and fainted. Naturally, the engagement was broken off. A binding spell was cast on her to prevent her from revealing the secret, and a new engagement was arranged for her immediately. It hurt him, but he thought it was inevitable. It was rare to find someone who could accept such an ugly form. After that, Alfred secluded himself within the Violet Gleam unit, dedicating his time to work in silence, avoiding people as much as possible. And he thought his life would always remain that way. Until he met Mithril. In the next scene, Mithril was eating a delicious meal with Lord Alfred. He asked if she liked meat. She said she didn't dislike any kind of food. If she had to name something, she couldn't stand bad food. She loved everything delicious. He said she could have his portion too because he haven't touched it yet. He said he wasn't good at eating meat, so he would be grateful if she took it instead. She thanked him for this kindness. He said there was no need for that, but she wanted to repay the favor and wanted him to let her do something in return. He then asked if she would mind accompanying him on a shopping trip. He wanted to buy some new cufflinks, but he had no idea what would suit him. She confessed that her sense of style wasn't that great and asked if that was okay. He said that was fine and asked when her day off was. She had a half-day break tomorrow, so he said they would go tomorrow. She asked if he didn't have work, and he responded that the Legion commander told him to take some rest, so as long as he let him know beforehand, there wouldn't be a problem. With that, they settled. She then remembered that her little brother's birthday was coming up, and she wanted to buy him a gift, and cufflinks sounded like a really good choice. When Lord Alfred informed Nathaniel about this, he said he wouldn't mind. After getting the permission, Alfred returned to his home. His mother, the Duchess of Ludegar, Diana Ludegar, welcomed him. She told him that even though it was fine to devote himself to his work, he should come home from time to time like this. His brother Arnold and his father, Winter Ludegar, were also happy to see him. He asked him to come sit at the table. Alfred noticed that Arnold didn't come with his wife. He explained that she wasn't feeling well today, so she decided to rest. When she felt better, he wanted him to let her see him, even just for a moment. It had been 3 years since they last had dinner together as a family of 4. Lord Winter asked how the work was going lately and told the butlers to leave the room. Her mother had already noticed that there was something he wanted to talk, so they asked when they were alone. Alfred didn't hesitate to tell that there was a woman he had special feelings for. They were quite interested and surprised and asked who she was. He said that she was currently working as a maid in the Violet Gleam Mage Corps. Her name is Mithril Lilvardi, daughter of the Viscount. Lord Winter asked if that was the girl everyone had been talking about lately, the one who defeated 3 knights who tried to attack her. He said that she was a bright and energetic girl, and although she was a little different from typical noble ladies, she had a positive personality and was straightforward in her words and actions. In other words, she didn't pretend or hide what was in her heart. Lady Diana asked if she knew about his feelings for her. He hadn't told her yet, but he was planning to do so soon. Diana stated that if he intended to spend his life with that girl, she wouldn't object. Lord Winter was also on board with that, and his brother was actually relieved to hear that. Alfred asked them to allow him to quietly observe the situation until he could express his feelings to her and confirm hers as well. Regarding the curse, talking about it was not permitted except after marriage and with the royal family's approval. And if their ducal family formally proposes marriage, it was unlikely the Viscount's house could refuse. But he didn't want things to be done that way. If their feelings weren't genuinely mutual, then it would end just like it did 3 years ago. But if she accepted him, there would be no greater happiness than that. The next day, Mithril finished getting ready, but she found her look still rather plain. Lord Alfred was waiting for her, and the moment he saw her, he complimented how the purple dress suited her so well. She thanked him, but she knew that was definitely just flattery. He offered his hand and asked to be her escort if she would allow him. Though he didn't go out into the city very often either, he suggested enjoying a little exploration together. Mithril was more than happy to spend time with him. When they arrived in the city, Lord Alfred moved his ring and changed his hair color. His blonde hair draws attention in the city. Even if he changed his hair color, his face still stands out too much. He suggested starting with the shops along this street. She was sure they would find some beautiful cufflinks. There were so many people in the town, so Alfred held Mithril's hand. She said it really made her feel like they were out in the city, and this was so fun. She asked if he wasn't good with crowds, and he said he wasn't very comfortable with them. He found an interesting stand, and they started looking around. The stones here were leftover pieces from jewelry made for nobles, and they were usually discarded. They were all lovely, so they took them, refined them, and sell them here. They were all shiny and beautiful, but there weren't any cufflinks. Alfred suddenly bought something and put it in her hair. It was a flower clip. He wanted it to be a memento of the day they went out together, and said the blue suited her too. She told him that he shouldn't be buying her anything. He asked if she wouldn't be happy to receive a gift from him. She corrected him that she was very happy with it. Alfred wanted to go ahead and use it however she liked. She felt embarrassed and thanked him again. They entered a shop this time and found some good cufflinks. If Alfred was going to use them, gold might suit him more and bright colors look good on him too. As for her, she liked light blue and violet. Lord Alfred didn't think twice and bought all of them. She was shocked because he didn't even try them on. He said he didn't mind the details and would start using it tomorrow. He then asked what his brother liked. She said he resembled her a little, but his eyes and hair color were lighter than hers. He was about to turn 15 soon. Alfred stated that something that gives off a mature vibe would be fitting since boys at that age like to appear older. She asked if he was the same. He said he used to imitate his older brother a lot when he was little, and it might be his way of seeming more grown up. She wished she could have seen Lord Alfred back then. He asked if she would like to visit their home next time and see for herself. She laughed because she thought he was joking, but Alfred said he wasn't joking. After that, he picked something out and asked for her opinion. It was gorgeous, and the silver base matched Ishel perfectly. He said that when he looked at her eyes up close, they shone like this violet gemstone, as if they carried a glimmer of silver dust, and he was sure her brother's eyes must be just as beautiful as hers. Mithril was so surprised that he noticed this much about her when even she didn't know what her eyes looked like. She decided to buy the one he picked. After they finished their day, Mithril thanked him for today, and he thanked her for choosing such beautiful cufflinks. When she returned to her room, she was very glad that Alfred liked the ones she picked. In the next scene, Mithril returned home and gave Ishel his present. When he opened it, he really liked the cufflinks. She said that the color suited his eyes. so she thought they would suit him. He promised to wear them on his birthday. She wouldn't be able to return because of work, so she wanted him to think of them as being in her place. After that, she said she must go now, even though she just got there. She said she had work tomorrow, and if the gate closed, she wouldn't be able to get in. Worried, Ishil asked if she was okay. She said she was and waved at him, saying she would be back on a day off soon. Ishil didn't know she was being abused all this time at the royal palace until he received a letter from the commander of the Violet Gleam Mage Corps. His sister was always like that. Even though it must have been painful, she acted like nothing had happened. Even when their parents passed away, she didn't shed a single tear in front of him. It was true that his sister was strong, but she was not without emotion. Thankfully, she was able to use body reinforcement, but being attacked by knights must have been terrifying for a woman. The knights and noblemen who caused the trouble were exiled or sent to monasteries. It was a natural outcome, but he felt like he always caused trouble for his sister. He then looked at the cufflinks and asked Annie if she thought her sister had picked out those cufflinks herself. She said they were wonderful cuffing. It seemed she came early to deliver them because she wouldn't be able to return on the actual day, but it was fine because her job was important. Still, he didn't think she picked them out herself. Her taste was way too good. Annie said she might choose them with a friend. He then remembered the new flower clip in her hair. If that was the case, it was fine, but he was still worried. At night, Mithril was thinking about how her brother was going to become an adult next year. 3 years ago, when their parents passed away, Ishil was sick with the same illness too. The fact that he survived alone must have left guilt and shadows in his heart, but she was so happy that at least he survived alone. If he hadn't been there, she wouldn't have been able to keep going. He was her only brother, and she could not replace him with anything. She wanted him to be happy and wanted to congratulate him on the actual day of his birthday. She decided to hold herself together and went to bed. The next day, she informed Lord Alfred that she had given the cufflinks yesterday. He asked how he reacted, and she said he was very happy with them. Alfred said that it was wonderful. She mentioned how he promised to wear them on his birthday as if they represent her by his side. So she was happy. He asked if she wasn't going home, and she said she had work the next day too. This was a good opportunity because if she keeps clinging to him like this, it would be hard for him when he gets married someday. Alfred said he didn't think her brother would mind having her by his side. Even if she stayed with him in the same house without getting married, Ishil wouldn't see her as a nuisance or get angry with her. And that was exactly why she didn't want to be a burden on him. Alfred changed the topic and mentioned that Bernard Colin resigned, or rather the commander of the Corps forced him to resign. She asked who that was. He said he was one of the servants working there with brown hair. She remembered the one who glared at her. Alfred said he was the one who hid her cleaning tools, put needles in the mops, and also incited the maids to keep the door jammed with magic. Now she understood that it wasn't just limited to the noble ladies. She asked if firing him was a bit too much. He said he was dismissed because he wasn't working in the first place. He kept complaining, had poor behavior, did no work, and on top of all that, he was hurting her. So keeping him was not an option. He had warned the other 3 as well, so he didn't think they would dare to harm her again. She thanked him again. She didn't really care that much, but getting rid of the abuse would definitely make her life easier. It would be troublesome if it affected her work. She noticed something was off and asked Alfred if there was something on his mind. Alfred asked if she wanted to get married. She said her engagement was once broken off, so it might be difficult. He asked if they set that aside. She said that if she met someone suitable and felt like she wanted to marry, she might. She asked if he would want to marry someday, or if he had a fiancé already, and he said he didn't. But there was someone he thought it would be nice to marry. After he said that, Mithril felt something weird in her chest. She said being wanted by a handsome man like him must feel amazing. Alfred was a straightforward man, so he said he meant her. Mithril was so shocked that she dropped the mop and started listing negative things about her, including the fact that she didn't have a big chest. He told her that this didn't matter to him, and that she was a very kind lady. But she was even more shocked because she was the girl who knocked out 3 knights at once. Alfred said he might like strong women. She then said she was from a Viscount family, and their social status gap was huge, and she was also poor. Alfred stated that he was the second son, so the difference in status wasn't a big deal for him. Her financial troubles were caused by the bad harvest 3 years ago, so when they got engaged, his family would provide support. But Mithril said the Duke's family would definitely oppose this. He said he haven't faced such opposition because they already approved. She said that she was a girl whose engagement was broken off before. Alfred told her that he was a man whose engagement was broken off too. She didn't expect him to be engaged before. He said the engagement was broken off for several reasons and he was single now. He asked if there were any other problems. She told him that she wanted to keep working. He was fine with that. On the contrary, it would be a shame if she resigned from the Violet Gleam, so he hoped she would continue working with them. And also, this way he could see her even during work hours, and that would make him happy. He then said he loved her. Everything was too sudden and too much for Mithril, so she wanted to postpone her answer. Because she didn't know if she loved him or not, so she asked him to postpone the matter. He said he understood her and he would do his best to make her fall in love with him. She asked if there wasn't something strange about what he just said and it didn't make sense. He said it was not wrong. As long as she didn't hate him, then there was still a chance she would love him, and just knowing that much was enough for him. He asked if he could call her Miss Mithria. She allowed him, and then he told her to rely on him from now on. Mithria thought about this moment all day long. Even in bed, she was still trying to process the fact that Lord Alfred loved her. She was so shocked, she screamed and panicked because she had never shown her any sign of it before. And because no one had ever confessed to her before, she blurted out that she would postpone her answer without thinking. But she loved him too. She didn't know whether she loved him as a man or just as a person, but she didn't hate him. That's why she couldn't reject him outright. She was freaking out all night trying to find the right answer. The first person Mithril saw the next day was Lord Alfred. He greeted her at breakfast and asked if he could accompany her. She wasn't ready for this yet, but had no choice but to allow him. When he sat, he said he had left early hoping to see her, and it seemed his decision was right. She said they saw each other at work. He responded that when you love someone, you never tire of seeing them again and again. Mithril was surprised at his straightforwardness. While they were working, Nathaniel commented on how they had been spending a considerable amount of time together lately. Mithril was so panicked that she dropped the books she was organizing. She immediately apologized. Lord Alfred explained that he had confessed his feelings to Miss Mithria and was doing his best to win her heart. Everyone was so shocked, including Mithria. Nathaniel asked if he really did that, and Alfred nodded. He was so happy and told him that he did well. Joel didn't expect him to take initiative so quickly. Mithria was confused as to what was going on. Joel said he knew Alfred had special feelings for Mithril. Mithril couldn't believe she was the only one who didn't notice anything. Nathaniel told Mithril that Alfred was genuinely a good man. He was handsome, financially stable, and the second son of a distinguished duke. He was responsible and serious, which would make him the ideal husband. She said he might be. Alfred stated that he would support the Lilverty family with everything he had, financially and socially. She responded that it was a generous offer that truly frightened her. But she knew there was no denying that his support would be significant. When Ishil was introduced into aristocratic society, the Duke's backing would give them great strength. Even the matter of breaking off her engagement with the Ironstone family would be closed forever, and no one would dare to speak of it again, and she would be able to continue her work as she had. And it was a good offer in every way, for her family and for her. Still, she couldn't clearly understand her feelings for Alfred. Alfred promised to wait no matter how long it takes until she sorts out her feelings. During the day, she continued thinking about the engagement. She didn't see any bad side of Lord Alfred, and if he accepted his proposal, Ishil would become his brother-in-law by law. With the son of House Ironstone, they didn't have a good relationship and they rarely met. But if she could get along with Lord Alfred, she might accept his confession. If she was going to marry, it should be to someone who valued and loved her little brother. She had an idea and went to find Lord Alfred. When she saw him, she asked if he would like to visit their home if he didn't have any urgent commitments. She mentioned that her little brother was eager to meet him when she told him about him. Alfred asked if this meant that she was officially inviting him, and she said they were poor and couldn't welcome him with luxury or grandeur. He said it was perfectly fine and he would be happy to see her just as she was, without pretenses, because that would give him the chance to know the kind of environment she grew up in, and the people who surrounded her. The next day, they entered Mithril's house. Annie and Vance greeted them. Ishil introduced himself to Lord Alfred and he told him not to be formal with him. Ishil thanked him for his kind visit today. Alfred introduced himself and asked him to call him by his name. Ishil thanked him for always caring for his sister. He responded that he should be thankful because he was the one who benefited from her presence, though in truth he had caused him a lot of trouble and he apologized for that. Ishil suggested sitting and talking instead of standing here and guided them to his room. When they sat together, he said he read about what happened in the Violet Gleam Corps from the letter, and he couldn't forgive the fact that his sister was harassed or nearly attacked, and he was upset that the environment she was in didn't change quickly enough to protect her. Alfred was so upset and said he was absolutely right. Shocked, Mithril told Ishil that it wasn't Lord Alfred's fault. She was the one who didn't tell anyone right away about the harassment, and there were people in the Violet Gleam Corps who were kind to her and looked after her a lot. Ishil didn't object to any of what she said and added that she was also in the wrong here. Just because she was okay didn't mean she should bear everything in silence, and he told her not to do that again. Ishil then asked Lord Alfred to lift his head. Strict disciplinary action was taken regarding that incident, and the families of those individuals and the individuals themselves were punished. But just to clarify, he asked if he wasn't proposing to his sister out of guilt over what happened. Alfred responded that he loved Mithril of his own will, and he wished to propose to her out of genuine feelings. Mithril was once again surprised at how clear he was with his emotions. Ishil asked what he liked the most about his sister, and he said he loved her honesty, her bright and positive personality, and that she was also meticulous and hardworking, and he admired that. Ishil mentioned that her engagement was broken off before, but Alfred responded that his family and he believed the fault was with the other party, and mentioned that he too had a broken engagement once. Ishil was so surprised that he wanted to know the reason, but then realized that he had overstepped. Alfred apologized because it involved internal matters of the ducal family, and that's why he couldn't speak about it right now, but he promised to explain everything in due time. Ishil heard he submitted several conditions if the engagement was to proceed, but he noticed that those conditions would put the ducal family at a disadvantage. Alfred stated that he was told it was acceptable. Ishil asked if he really wanted to marry his sister that much, and Alfred responded that he absolutely was, and if there were any other wishes or requests, he promised to do his best to fulfill them. Ishil told him that there was anything else they wanted. The rest depended on her sister's feelings, so he asked if she didn't want to get married. She said that it wasn't about that. Ishil asked if Lord Alfred was not attractive enough for her to consider him as a life partner. She immediately told him that Lord Alfred was kind, handsome, and intelligent, and he was truly an amazing person. And that was exactly why she felt like she was not good enough for him. Alfred grabbed her face and said what mattered the most was their feelings and what they held for one another. When the time comes for marriage, he asked if it wouldn't be alright for him to be the one by her side. She said she wasn't refusing that. Ishil told his sister that she was overthinking things and told her not to worry about how others saw her. Mithril asked if he really saw her as the right woman for him. Alfred smiled at her and said he wanted Miss Mithria and no one else but her, because it was her specifically that he wanted to spend his future with. Mithril felt so comforted and happy that she stopped overthinking things and held his hand while saying how she wanted to be with him from now on. Alfred thanked her and said he had been waiting to hear those words for so long. They seemed to forget about Ishil, so he said he would get in touch with his uncle to inform him. For the last time, he asked if she was sure about her decision. Mithril comfortably responded that she was and said she would accept Lord Alfred's proposal. With that, Alfred said they would send an official engagement offer from the ducal family. Mithril wondered if that was falling in love always felt like that. She was feeling joy, embarrassment, and nervousness, as if just having him beside her made her feel happy. She realized how much she loved him that moment. But at that time, she didn't know that this engagement would bring so much trouble with it. In the next scene, Nathaniel and Joel congratulated Alfred and Mithril on their engagement. Joel was glad they had come to love each other peacefully. Mithril thanked them. Nathaniel reminded her to make sure to stay focused while working. After Nathaniel said that to her, Mithril wasn't sure if spending time with him would be okay. Alfred reminded her that a work bell had rung, so it wasn't a problem. He asked what she was making, and she said it was a mask. It was a piece of cloth that covered the mouth when entering dirty places. It was annoying to keep putting on and taking off a big handkerchief. He agreed and said masks looked easy to put on and remove, and it was convenient to use. She added that during experiments, masks prevent bad odors, and when you catch a fold, it stops saliva from spreading when coughing or sneezing, which was good. He asked how many pieces she was planning to make, and she said she intends to make 10 of them. He asked if she could make a paper pattern for it. He said he was thinking of using it too during experiments or cleaning. And he thought other people would like to have it so they could ask a shop to produce it for them. And if they wanted, they could even sell it. Mithril asked if he thought it would sell, and he said Violet Gleam would definitely buy it at least. And since the mask could be considered a supply item, there wouldn't be an initial cost. He asked if there were any other things she wanted. She said she wanted some waterproof gloves and a vacuum cleaner. Obviously, Alfred didn't know what that was. She drew a sketch and said it was something shaped like a tube, and it sucks in dust and dirt and only blows air out from the back. She said having it would make the servants' work much easier. But in this world, there was no electricity, so household appliances would be difficult. Alfred asked if it could be made. He said it could be done using wind magic. Mithril didn't realize that until now. Alfred asked if she would like to try making it together under both their names. He thought it would sell too because it was an innovative tool that reduces cleaning effort. She was so excited and held his hand, saying how grateful she was to him. He said he was too and promised to look for a suitable workshop, and when he found one, they would go together and discuss it with them. She couldn't believe they might actually be able to use a vacuum cleaner even in this world. But according to this design, he said, anyone who couldn't release magical energy couldn't use it. He suggested trying to make a vacuum cleaner that worked with a magic stone in the future, so anyone could use it. Those who couldn't use wind magic included Mithril too. A few days later, she finished cleaning Alfred's room. Before she left, Alfred stopped her and said there may be an investigation into her personal background regarding the engagement. She only said that it would be tough. He asked if it didn't bother her. She responded that it was natural for that to happen if it was an engagement with someone from a duke's family, and it would be troublesome if they married someone eccentric. Besides, she haven't committed any bad deeds, so even if they investigate her, it wouldn't hurt her. but throwing a mud ball at a bully when she was a child could count as a bad deed. Alfred comforted her that they wouldn't go that far in their investigation. And as for the vacuum cleaner and the masks, he said his family recommended a good workshop and a clothing shop so they could go together. He asked when her next day off was, and she said it was in 5 days. She was pretty happy that it would be the first step towards developing the vacuum cleaner. In the next scene, it was Mithril's day off, and they went to see the workshop. A man welcomed them and thanked them for coming. Alfred mentioned that he was accompanied by his beloved as well, and they would be engaged soon, so he asked him to remember her. She introduced herself and thanked him for sparing time for them today. Head of the workshop, Darius Marwood, introduced himself too and asked if her family was the one famous for the Mithril mine, and she confirmed it. He said it was a high-quality, excellent metal, so craftsmen compete to obtain it. After the greetings, Mithril explained to the craftsman that the vacuum cleaner was a tool designed to suck up dust and dirt that fell on the floor. The trash was sucked in from the suction nozzle, passes through the tube, then into the body. The air was separated from the trash, and finally, only clean air comes out. When she finished explaining, Alfred mentioned that the basic magic used was wind magic, and he thought using 3 magic circles for those stages would be best. Among them, the one with glasses said it was enough to engrave the magic circles, and they could even use a burning stamp, which made mass production easy. The general public could buy them, and even if they broke, it was just to replace the parts. The head of the craftsman asked for some details about the suction nozzle because he wondered why there was a flat shape separated from the tube. After all, it might scratch the floor. Mithril said that when it was flat, the suction range was higher and the suction power spreads more evenly than with the tube, which reduces damage to carpets and such. And if they add a small soft brush to the suction nozzle, the floor wouldn't get damaged either. He asked if that nozzle would make the tube unnecessary. She said that the tube was useful when cleaning furniture gaps or window edges. The others found this very helpful. They asked what length the tube should be, and she said it should reach the ground when held in hand, without needing to bend your back. They then asked if there was a reason to divide the suction power into 3 levels. She said she wanted to adjust it depending on the use and explained where she would use them. They asked how strong the suction was in the weakest setting, and she said it might be strong enough to make a sheet of paper stick, but it could still be pulled off by hand. She apologized for giving uncertain answers, but they said magical tools began with imagining what they wanted to create, and to make it real, they sit down and discuss it with craftsmen like this. It was enough for them to just voice what came to mind, and that alone was helpful. As for deciding whether it could be realized or not, that was up to the craftsman. In her previous life, she didn't even think about structural details and regretted now learning more about such things. After discussing what was left, they left the rest to them and hoped they would take care of it. It was lunchtime, and Alfred said he had reserved a table at a nearby restaurant. She asked if she could go in dressed like this, and he said it was fine because the place wasn't too formal and they had a private room. Besides, he said her dress today suits her very well. The frills make it more elegant and beautiful. She thanked him and figured that he liked this type of clothing. He said they would buy her more dresses and jewelry when the engagement was official, but he wanted her to say if there was anything she liked because he felt happy thinking he could make her even more beautiful. Mithril said that would burden him. Alfred responded that clothing the woman he loved was a kind of self-fulfillment for a man, and it was also a way to express the depth of his feelings. So if it didn't bother her, he asked her to let him spend on her. He said that it was enough for her to accept his feelings with a smile. Receiving gifts and spending from such a wonderful, handsome man, and to just accept them like this, made her feel like she was going to be a villainess. Mithria thanked Lord Alfred for the dinner. It was so delicious and the restaurant was wonderful. It had been a long time since she last went to a restaurant, so she was really happy. And since she enjoyed it, Lord Alfred was also happy and suggested going together again. Mithria decided to do her best at works this afternoon too. They went to see a fashion shop owner together. Her name was Amelia Bradson, and they showed the mask Mithria designed. Amelia heard it was a piece of cloth placed over the mouth, and now she understood, and it seemed very practical and easy to use. Mithria explained that it could be used when cleaning, doing research, caring for the sick, and in other situations. Also, by adding decorations like frills, lace, or colors for women, it would be easy to match with clothing. Amelia agreed and said a lot of people would want to have them. Lord Alfred mentioned that he would buy it regularly for the violet gleam if it could be produced, which made Amelia pretty happy. She decided to take their order. After they made the deal, they left the shop, and Mithria was so happy. She hoped the broom and the mask would be a success too. A month had passed since she accepted the engagement. At last, the engagement contract was submitted to the state and approved by the heads of both families. Alfred was now officially engaged to Mithria. Nathaniel and Joel congratulated both of them. Nathaniel took credit for hiring Miss Mithril. He was the one who brought the two of them together in the first place, though the captains of the Ruby and Amber units also had a hand in it. Nathaniel asked if she remembered the two captains and asked if she would like to meet them. Mithril was envious. She wasn't sure if it would be improper for her to meet them more than once because she was just a servant in the Violet Gleam. She was still surprised that Captain Nathaniel himself spoke to her so casually. She asked if that would be possible, and Nathaniel said they also wanted to talk to her again. Alfred said he would be there if they were meeting with her. Nathaniel warned her that they both have unique personalities. She said that was okay, so he told her to come after her work was done. When she finished her work for today, she knocked on Nathaniel's door and let herself in. Nathaniel told her to have a seat. When she sat, Garvius and Shido greeted her and introduced themselves again. They thanked her for cleaning the Violet Gleam. Since the place was in such bad shape, it had come to be called the Nest of Chaos. Mithril said she only tidied the room she was responsible for. It was thanks to her fellow servants and the mages who worked hard that the place became clean. Lord Alfred mentioned that Miss Mithria was truly humble and patted her head. Both Garvius and Shido were surprised that he was acting close to her and asked that. Lord Alfred responded that she was his fiancé, which made them even more shocked. Garvius asked when they were engaged, and he said starting today. Shido congratulated both of them. Garvius wondered what made him change his mind because he had always ignored all the young ladies who tried to approach him. Mithril was surprised that it was like that after all. She said that Lord Alfred was handsome, kind, skilled at his work, and had a wonderful personality, so he must be popular. But he always seemed annoyed by it, and people even called him the Ice Prince because of how cold her was. Mithril found this nickname pretty cool, but Lord Alfred said he didn't like that title. Garvius saw them and found it very cute. He said he never thought he would get engaged, but that was a good thing. He told Mithril that if she left, the place would go back to being messy in no time. Mithril reassured Shido that she was not quitting. She loved the work, and Lord Alfred asked her to continue working here. They were glad to hear that. Nathaniel said he wouldn't let it get that dirty again, but no one believed him. He said they were being too harsh on him and he could do it if he wanted to. He asked Mithril to back him up, but she said he didn't and said he can but won't, and he can't be the same thing in her opinion. Either way, he didn't do it. Garvius found her amusing and told her to tell him more. Nathaniel begged for them to stop because he wouldn't be able to recover after that. Garvius said there was hardly anyone who could take hits like him. But Nathaniel said there was one. He asked Mithril to tell them that slogan. She said that the strongest person in the world at enduring without breaking, being harmed, or defeated, Mithril, Mithria Lilvardi, was ready to take on anything. She asked them to call her Mithril from now on. Lord Alfred asked if she didn't think it was time to drop that slogan, but she said she would not stop. 5 days later, it was time for Mithril to visit the Duke of Ludegar's family. Alfred thanked her for arranging the appointment to suit his family's schedule this time. But Mithril was the happy one. He made time despite being busy. Since they were going to be family, it was only natural to make time for this. Everyone was excited to meet her too. She was excited as well. But before that, Lord Alfred said there was somewhere they would like to stop by. They went to Mrs. Bradson's shop and Alfred gave Mithril to her. Mrs. Bradson wanted to start trying on dresses immediately. She tried so many dresses, but Mrs. Bradson didn't choose any of them. She felt like she had tried on more than 10 dresses by now. Lord Alfred asked why she liked one of the best. Her favorite was the one she was wearing now. Blue was the color of Lord Alfred's eyes, and he thought it suited her well. He asked about the other dresses, and she said they were all so beautiful that it was hard to choose. Lord Alfred decided to save her from picking and bought them all. She was shocked and told him that buying all of them was too much. There was a limit to things, and that was absolutely not allowed. Lord Alfred reminded her that he wanted to give these things to her to see her radiant and beautiful in what he gave her, and he wanted to have her all to himself. He asked her not to refuse if she didn't mind. Mithril couldn't say no to this man and said okay. Her former fiancé never once gave her dresses or jewelry, and she had never been this dressed up before, so she felt nervous and couldn't calm down. She never imagined a day would come when she would wear such a stunning dress. Lord Alfred couldn't stop complimenting on how beautiful she looked. At the carriage, Mithril asked Lord Alfred to come sit by her side for a moment. When he sat, she kissed him on the cheek and said she wanted to have him all to herself too. Lord Alfred's face started blushing and he hugged her tightly, saying he was already hers. When they finally arrived at the mansion, Mithril was shocked by how luxurious it was. Lord Alfred's parents welcomed them in the garden, and Winter Ludegar, Alfred's father and the master of this house, greeted her. He then introduced his wife Diana and his eldest son Arnold, along with his wife Liumiera. Mithril was honored to meet them, and she introduced herself. She thanked them for agreeing to her engagement with Lord Alfred and for extending their helping hand to her family. Lord Ludegar told her that there was no need to thank them, for it was only natural since she would become his son's wife. The greatest joy for them two that Alfred had found someone he loved. He invited them in to talk at ease. When they sat together, Alfred immediately held her hand. and his mother noticed that he really did fancy Miss Mithria. She assumed Alfred didn't show his feelings and he always puts work first, so she wondered if that made her suffer hardships. She said he was kind and cared for her very much. On the contrary, he always fulfills what he wishes for. She was certain she would be happy with him. His mother was glad to hear that, for even if only in name, she would become her daughter, and from now on she could rely on her any time. Mithril realized that she was going to become part of this family when they married. She said she lost her parents, so her words truly made her happy. Lord Arnold's wife, Luamera, told her that she could ask her for anything. She thanked her and said she hoped she could teach her about dresses. Lady Diana said they would make her into such a refined lady of society that everyone would envy her. Lord Arnold wondered if Mithria was also reputed for something other than skill in cleaning. They said she was skilled in sword dueling and that some knights wished to challenge her. She said she would like to have a duel too, so he asked if they should give it a try. But Lord Alfred said that wouldn't be proper. Mithril said it would only take a short moment. Diana worried it might be dangerous. Even with wooden training swords, if she were stuck, it wouldn't just be a small injury. She said she was skilled in strengthening, so it was fine. Even when she was hit by a carriage as a child, she didn't suffer a single scratch. They were shocked, so she had to clarify that she didn't put herself in danger like that anymore, because she had come to know the feeling of loss and she never wanted to make her loved ones feel that way. Mithria Lilvardy was born 18 years ago into the House of Lilvardy, a family of minor nobility. She had a wise father who always put the well-being of the fief's people first, a loving mother, and servants and villagers who treated them like one family. They were not wealthy, but she believed she had been born into an environment of great happiness. And it seemed she was strong since she was a baby. Even after she grew older, she would go hunting alone and work in the fields, and practice sword dueling with wooden swords alongside the knights, rebellious like a boy, or even more so. When she was 12, she was engaged to the son of a noble house, the heir of House Ironstone, but she supposed he could not see her as a girl, and her quiet life was completely changed 2 years after that engagement. For the entire country was struck by a terrible, poor harvest, and on top of that, an epidemic spread, causing her parents and young brother to fall ill. She learned that the medicine required herbs that grew in a deep valley in the mountains, so she ignored the servants' objections and rushed off. Now, when she recalled it, she realized what she did was reckless, but at the time she acted thoughtlessly, driven by desperation. The servants say she returned in the evening of the second day after leaving. She came back with her clothes torn, and with the herbs she had gathered, they managed to make a large quantity of medicine. Some of the villagers recovered, as well as the heir of House Ironstone and her brother. But even with a bag full of herbs, those in critical condition did not recover, and in the end she lost her parents and many people of the fief. After that, the duties of managing the fief were entrusted to her uncle, and she took her grieving, withdrawn younger brother and moved to the royal capital. She tried to adapt to their new life and kept herself busy until 3 years had passed. Though she knew the loss of her parents was something to grieve, not a single tear left in her eyes, for she had no time for sorrow in the midst of the struggle to survive. And when her engagement was broken during all this, she was surprised. But she thought that even if they had married, neither of them would have been happy. But she was no longer alone. There was Lord Alfred, someone dear to her, with whom she wished to always be. In the next scene, Mithril changed her clothes to the riding attire Lord Alfred wore in his childhood. Lord Alfred complimented that she looked wonderful even in that kind of clothing. She looked confident and beautiful. She thanked him and promised to do her best so I wouldn't be just appearances. Everyone went to the training area, and Mithril and Lord Arnold greeted each other. When the duel started, Mithril was so fast that it surprised Arnold, but he dodged her pretty easily and asked if that was her full strength. Mithril decided to show him her real power and jumped for a powerful attack. When she hit the ground, it seemed like an explosion. Everyone was shocked. When the smoke cleared, they saw that she had cracked the floor and broken the sword. She panicked and apologized for breaking the wooden sword. She said it might be because she used her full strength for the first time in a long while and got carried away. Lord Arnold said it was fine, but told her that when she duels with someone, it was best to keep the level they started at in the first strike. She said she would do that, because if she fights seriously, she might break many things, or worse. At that moment, Arnold's body moved on its own as if his instincts warned him not to take that blow. He was sure that it was a power that could kill a person, not just break things. After the duel was over, she thanked him. Lord Alfred came and they started talking. Lord Arnold's father asked about his opinion, and he said she was truly an incredible girl. With that much strength and cheerfulness, he wanted to believe she would even accept his curse. They must do everything they can for her. After they returned, Lord Alfred asked how she had found their home. She said it was truly wonderful, and the Duke's family members were so kind, which made her very happy. She said Lord Alfred's brother was incredibly strong. Lord Alfred confirmed and said he was the heir to the Dukedom, but thanks to his skill in combat, he was chosen as a knight of the Royal Guard. From the moment she received his sword, she could tell he was capable of fighting in full earnest. She then asked if it bothered him that his fiancée was such a strong-willed girl. Lord Alfred said never, and that he was actually proud of it. She was someone who could protect herself and others, and that was a wonderful thing. He wanted her to stay just as she was, and there was no need to pretend to be delicate or hide her strength. He loved her as she was. Besides, she wasn't that strong in swordsmanship, so he thought they were evenly matched. Mithril giggled and said that if they combined his strong magic with her sword skills, they would make the perfect pair. Together, no one could stand against them. Alfred agreed, but added that her protection was the responsibility of her fiancé, him. When he kissed her hand, a ring appeared on her finger. Shocked, she asked what this was. He said it was the engagement ring. He also had a ring that matched hers. She said it was nice because when they wear the same thing, they wouldn't feel lonely. He asked if she felt lonely when they were apart. She said that it was natural to feel sad when he was away from her. Alfred agreed and said he also thinks of her often when they were apart. That made her happy. Mithril was about to say something about the dress and the ring, but he stopped her. She decided to say that she was going to treasure it always and thanked him. It was as if he were a god of fortune who always brings her happiness. In the next scene, Nathaniel noticed Alfred's engagement ring. Mithril was wearing the exact same one. He said that was right, and she visited his home to introduce herself, and he gave it to her afterwards. Nathaniel mentioned that when he married his wife, he also went to greet her family, and he was so nervous. Joel was surprised that even he, Captain Murdial, was nervous. He said it was because it was his wife's family. It was so tense he couldn't even taste the tea they served him. He asked how Mithril was and assumed she was nervous. Alfred said she seemed a little nervous at first, but after having a mock sword match with his brother, she seemed to really enjoy herself. Nathaniel and Joel were stunned because Alfred was the Knight of the Royal Guard. Excited, Nathaniel asked who won between them, and he said Mithria's wooden sword broke and the match ended in a draw. But if his brother had taken her sword strike directly, he would have been the loser. They were shocked that Mithril was that strong. Alfred said if he had taken that strike head-on, it wouldn't have ended with just a broken arm. Nathaniel figured that she was holding herself back during that incident with the knights. Alfred confirmed and said she was aware of her own strength, which is why she usually restrains herself. Mithril was strong in every sense. Alfred felt the need to become stronger. Meanwhile, Mithril was looking at her ring, feeling like she was in a dream. When she met Lord Alfred and became his fiancée, she felt really happy. But at the same time, she couldn't shake off the guilt of having been someone whose engagement was broken. She thought marriage to anyone was impossible for her, but she healed that wound. She wondered if they would live in the same house when they got married. She really wanted to get married soon. 2 weeks later, Mithril was trying a very tight corset. Today was the evening party to announce the engagement, so they had to look their best. But Mithril was about to suffocate. She asked if Lady Diana and Lumiere tightened their corsets like this too, and the maid said they tightened them even more than this. Since Lady Mithria was slender and had a thin waist, this much was perfectly fine. The next was the dress, the jewelry, and the cosmetics. She realized how amazing the ladies of this society are. But when they were done with her, she looked absolutely gorgeous. She felt like a completely different person. She was so happy they made her look this lovely, and now she felt like she could confidently stand next to Lord Alfred. The door knocked, and it was Lord Alfred. She ran and hugged him when he entered, and the maids left them alone. Alfred held her face and said she was more delicate and gorgeous than ever. He was truly lucky to have such a beautiful fiancée. Mithril said he looked handsome too. Lord Alfred felt like he had been walking on clouds ever since she accepted his feelings. Mithril agreed with him and asked if this wasn't a dream. He held her head and approached her while saying it wasn't. When they went to the party area, there were people watching them, but no one was coming near or talking to them. Alfred said it might be because of him, because he used to avoid interacting with people outside of work, and his way of speaking probably made him seem cold. So rarely would anyone start a conversation with him. But someone approached him and said they haven't met for days. It was Nathaniel and Captain Aldred. Alfred greeted them and said it was an honor to have them here. Nathaniel told him not to be so formal and said he came to share their happy day. He then told Mithria that she looked so kind. Alfred stared at him, so he said he was just praising her, and he was completely devoted to his wife, and he also had a daughter. Alfred said he knew that. Nathaniel then told him to stop staring at him like that. Lord Aldred mentioned that the Ice Prince hadn't changed, but Mithril said Lord Alfred was not the Ice Prince. She said he wasn't that cold, and he was serious, kind, and calm, but a bit helpless, so it was just hard to read his expressions. Lord Nathaniel and Captain Aldred looked at each other and started chuckling. Captain Aldred patted Lord Alfred's shoulder and teased him. Even if it was a little early, they congratulated them, and the couple thanked the captains. Mithril saw a friend of hers, and Lord Alfred wanted to go together because he would like to greet her. Mithril approached Ariella and hugged her. Ariella greeted Lord Alfred after hugging Mithril and introduced herself to him. Lord Alfred also greeted her and introduced himself. After the introduction, Ariella apologized for being rude, but she couldn't help but ask if the engagement proposal came from the Duke's family because she heard that Lord Ludegar didn't like women. Lord Alfred stated that it was an official matter through the family and added that he was serious about his relationship with Miss Mithria. She asked about the official announcement and he said they had already completed it. They stared at each other for a while and then she smiled at him and asked him to take care of her best friend. Alfred reassured her that the Duke's family and he would also do their best. Ariella congratulated her and expressed how relieved she was to see her happy. She was glad Mithril found someone wonderful. Mithril thanked her. Ariella told her not to forget that among the people she had met, there was also Ariella. Alfred felt a little jealous and couldn't help but express this. Ariella hugged Mithril and said they were close friends. Alfred said there seemed to be no room for him between the two of them. Mithril held his hand and said that, always by her side, there was a place reserved for Lord Alfred. The kind of love was different, but they were all people she loved from the bottom of her heart. Right now, she was really happy. Ariella said they should sit the four of them together for tea when she finds a suitable partner, and Mithril hoped that she would find one. When she left, Lord Alfred said she was a good person, and wondered why she hadn't had a partner until now. She explained that Ariella rejected all the engagement proposals she received because she only liked those older than her. He thought it would be easy for her to find one then, but the thing was that she looked for older men, even older than her father. Alfred was shocked. He said people's tastes differ and it wasn't for others to comment on that. Alfred's father called for him, so it was time for them to go now. Lord Ludegar started his speech by saying he had an announcement he would like to make in front of everyone. His son, the second son of their family, Alfred Ludegar, had gotten engaged, and his fiancée was Miss Mithria Lilcardi, the eldest daughter of Viscount Lilvardi. On this happy that, he asked that they grant their blessings for a joyful future together. After the announcement was over, people approached Mithril and commented on how remarkable a young lady she was, because only someone with great confidence in herself could stand beside Lord Ludegar. Mithril was annoyed that they were implying that her appearance was unworthy of being at Lord Alfred's side. She responded that that was true, for he was an outstanding person, and she was far less than he deserved, but Lord Alfred said he wanted her just as she was. What mattered were their feelings, and he told her that it was enough if they loved each other, so she didn't care. The woman who made that comment said an engagement between a ducal family and a Viscount family with such a difference in status would be difficult. Mithril responded that she was going to receive guidance in etiquette from his mother and his sister-in-law to be worthy of the Duke's family. For the sake of being with the one she loved, there was no hardship or suffering. The ladies left after her talk. She knew there would be those who didn't look at her with approval, and she wasn't going to gain everyone's blessings. Even so, she wanted to stay with him, and she didn't want to lose to anyone. Social interactions between women were truly exhausting. She wondered where Lord Alfred could be. Someone approached her, and she felt like she had seen him somewhere before. She asked what it was, and the man said her friend got injured in the garden, and she asked him to call her. Worried that Ariella was hurt, she immediately asked where she was, and the man said she was by the fountain. Ariella left there immediately and saw a man standing there. It was Lord Ironstone. He was upset that she didn't call him Harold anymore. She asked what he was doing here and if she had seen Ariella. Lord Ironstone said it was just a lie to bring her here. Mithril told him not to call her by her name because they were strangers since the engagement had been broken off. Lord Ironstone wanted to talk to her about that and told her to be his fiancée again. In the next scene, a man asked Dorothea if it was true that she was a woman suitable only for a one-night stand. Shocked, Dorothea said that was not true. She explained that the rumor spread only because she rejected the confession of love from the son of a high-ranking noble, and it must have been his petty revenge after she turned him down. He then asked why she didn't tell him about it. She responded that she was afraid his feelings for her would fade away. Harold hugged her and asked for her forgiveness. He explained that he wanted to marry her, but his father was strict, and if things continued like this, they would send him back to the province. If they restore his engagement with Mithril, everything will go back to how it was before. Dorothea realized that he wanted her to stay as his mistress forever. He was asking her, the daughter of a Viscount family, to lower herself and become nothing more than a concubine. She thought she didn't even need him if she was not his lawful wife, and he didn't even have wealth. And yet the daughter of Viscount Lilvardi was engaged with that icy prince when she thought she would spend her days weeping after being abandoned by her fiancé. She was far more beautiful than she, and she should have been the one more suitable for him. While she was thinking like that, she turned to Harold and said his happiness was what mattered to her. At the evening party to be held at Duke Ludegar's estate, she told him to announce that he was reconciled, and after that, he would accept it right away. Lord Ludegar had already had his engagement broken off once. If he were abandoned a second time, without a doubt he would sink into sorrow. And then, if she gently consoles him, she thought she might get a chance. In the evening, she decided to take advantage of the invitation she had obtained through one of her connections. By now, Harold may have already met the daughter of Viscount Lilvardy. She found him foolish, thinking he could return to her. He didn't even realize he was nothing more than a tool she was exploiting. All she wanted was to take the place of Viscount Lilvardy's daughter. If she creates a reason that prevents the engagement from continuing, then it would be hers. She could spread a rumor that she was seen with her former fiancé in the dark, appearing close to him. And if necessary, she would even spend a night with Duke Ludegar's son herself. At that point, he would have no choice but to break off the engagement. Even if she fails to gain approval, it is enough for her if that woman becomes miserable, because she would never allow her to be engaged to a man better than the one she took from her. While Lord Ludegar was looking for Mithril, Dorothea approached him and greeted him. She was amazed by his up-close face. Lord Ludegar asked what it was, and she said she thought he might be looking for the daughter of Viscount Lilvardy. He asked if she knew where she was now. She said she just went out to the balcony a little while ago with a man, and she looked very happy. She didn't forget to add the fact that Mithril had only just announced her engagement to Lord Ludegar. She grabbed his arm and asked if he was all right when he didn't answer. But Lord Ludegar pushed her and made her fall. Shocked, Dorothea looked at him. He told her not to ever touch him. When he left, Lord Ludegar's father and mother came and asked if she was okay and the reason why she was sitting on the ground like that. She said she only wished to congratulate Lord Ludegar on his engagement, but all of a sudden he pushed her away. She thought he would at least give her an apology for pushing down a lady of rank. However, Lord Ludegar's mother said she didn't know that offering congratulations on an engagement meant pressing your chest against the man's chest. She then turned to her husband and asked if he knew about this, and he said it was impossible and that if she did that to him, even he would have shoved her away in disgust. Dorothea couldn't believe her eyes. They then asked which noble house she was from because they didn't recall ever seeing her before. She asked if she had forgotten the face of one of the invited ladies. She asked her name and Dorothea started crying, saying she never intended to cause a commotion. Lord Ludegar had had enough of her and told the maids that an uninvited guest had slipped into the party. Dorothea tried to get rid of the maids but couldn't do it. Someone brought a message from Lord and Lady. She was forbidden from ever setting foot in their house again. The guard then asked her to return to her home in peace. Meanwhile, Harold was trying to convince Mithril. He suggested canceling the annulment of the engagement. That way, relations and dealings between the two families would return to normal, and no one would say she was the girl whose fiancé abandoned her. Mithril mentioned that he was about to marry Lady Dorothea and that he loved her. He confirmed what she said and stated that engagement was a matter concerning both families. If things remained as they were, his family's standing would collapse, and he too would lose the support of his father and elder brother. Mithril told him to stop this nonsense. She reminded him that he was the one who betrayed and annulled his engagement, the one who broke his contract with the house of Viscount Lilvardy. After all that, when his position worsened, he wanted to use her again. Harold's whole attitude had changed, and he started yelling at her, asking if she was abandoning him. She yelled back that she was already engaged to another man. She had had enough of this and would not endure any longer. She screamed at him to get away from her forever. Right after that, Lord Ludegar came and embraced her while throwing Harold away like garbage. He apologized for being late, but Mithril was just glad that he came. Lord Ludegar completely ignored Harold and suggested going back inside. Seeing this, Harold was annoyed and tried to scold him for not apologizing for leaving someone completely drenched. Mithril explained to Lord Ludegar that he was the son of Count Ironstone and he said Ariella summoned her so she came. Harold claimed that Mithril was speaking with him now. Lord Ludegar told him to stop calling her by name and reminded him that the engagement had broken off and they were strangers now. Harold got mad and said he was going to get engaged to Mithria again. Ludegar told him that the one engaged to Miss Mithria was supposed to be him. He wasn't present at the engagement announcement. He said it was an honor to meet him and introduced himself. He added that from now on, he and his ducal family would support her, so he didn't need to worry about her anymore. Harold was totally intimidated by him. He tried to act tough, but Lord Ludegar didn't let him. Ariella and Lord Ludegar's brother came and asked if they were okay. Alfred told Lord Ludegar that he was perfectly fine. They also got the collaborator. Mithril noticed that it was the man who talked to her. Lord Alfred said he was Bernard Collin, her former classmate. She said she thought she had seen him before, and now she figured. Apparently Sir Myrtiel saw him and called out, but he fled. Then Sir Garvius grew suspicious and caught him. He confessed that he lured Miss Mithria at the request of the son of Count Ironstone and the daughter of Count Brandley. Alfred's brother's wife told her not to worry because her parents drove her away from the place. Ariella was furious that Harold used her name as an excuse, but Mithril was just glad that she wasn't harmed. As for those who leaked the party invitations, they were going to be arrested. After that, Alfred's brother's wife pushed her inside because today was a beautiful day, and it would be a shame to let it end ruined like this. Mithril was fine with that, but she couldn't help but wonder why he suddenly tried to take back the annulment. It seemed the Lilvardy family's dealings with the Ironstone country dwindled. worsening their finances. So he might have just wanted to mend ties with her to restore his standing. Lord Alfred told her that she could demand whatever punishment she liked for him. She thought about it for a moment but then said she had nothing. She no longer wishes to have any connection with him. Besides, she was happy that she was able to announce her engagement, so she didn't care about him anymore. Lord Alfred said fine and promised to rely on her from here on. After that incident, Lord Alfred noticed that his palms were sweating. The thought of Mithril rejecting him, drifting away from, terrified him. But he didn't want to hide anything anymore. Mithril heard him say something and asked what happened. He said nothing and they moved on. A few days later, Mithril was telling how her relations with classmates had greatly improved since the engagement announcement. They greet and chat with her now. Lord Alfred said they might have thought she now had ducal backing, so they panicked and hurried to apologize just as he expected. He then mentioned that the son of Count Ironstone was sent back to his family's estate and sentenced to indefinite house arrest. As for the others who were involved, they became outcasts and left the capital, so they would never see them again. She did say it didn't matter anymore, but in truth she couldn't say she felt completely at ease. In the next scene, Lord Alfred and Mithril arrived at the factory to see the vacuum cleaner. Mithril was so excited and noticed that they had already completed a prototype, and it was also equipped with a brush. They mentioned that it could be detached easily. Its body was oval like an egg, which made it look so cute. Mithril noticed that its texture was soft, almost rubber-like, and asked what it was. He said it was made from the hide of a magical beast. It resembles a giant lizard in shape, and its meat is delicious and often used in cooking. Normally, wheels were made of wood, but they scratched the floor, so they tried this hide and got wheels flexible and smooth enough. And since this hide was usually discarded, it was also cheap. They suggested trying to run it first. If magical energy flows into the handle, the magical circuitry would activate. Lord Alfred tried first, and it seemed like it was working. They could adjust suction power by turning the handle so it was practical. Mithril wanted to try a notice handle thing. She wondered if it was proper for her, as a beginner, to give her opinion on everything. It might be a little heavy for women, and the brush should be softer, but she tried to think that they should settle for what they had achieved so far. Lord Alfred noticed that she was silent for a while and told her to say anything she felt without holding back. Negotiation was sometimes important, but what could be improved must be adjusted. She got the courage she needed and started saying the stuff she had been thinking. After they left, Mithril said her heart felt like it was racing a bit. It might be because the thing she wanted was finally nearing completion. She wondered if it was okay for her to decide on her own. He responded that they could make several prototypes and get feedback from their servants too. She asked if this wouldn't increase their workload. Lord Alfred stated that even if their work increases now, using the vacuum later would ease their burden in the future. They can't judge a product's quality without testing it, and once it was used in their household, they could promote it as a product of the ducal family. Mithril asked if people might think that it was his favorite because it was invented by his fiancé. For those who think that way, Alfred simply decided not to sell them anymore. Mithril was surprised by his confidence once again and realized that she never would have imagined this in her previous life. In the next scene, Lady Mithril was studying etiquette. On weekdays she worked, and on holidays she made prototypes of vacuum cleaners, and now she was studying etiquette. She was so busy but tried to convince herself that she was having fun. The teacher, who was Lord Alfred's mother, stated that when drinking tea she must always hold the saucer along with the cup. It was improper to drink it all in one gulp. Mithril noticed that the tea was delicious, so she commented, but her voice was a little loud. She realized that she was the complete opposite of what was expected of a noble daughter. The teacher commented that she found her brightness and energy quite charming, but not everyone may see it that way. Changing one's manners now must be difficult, but still, a person who masters etiquette already appears beautiful just from that alone. Mithril promised to do her best for her own sake and also for Lord Alfred, who chose her as his fiancé, and for all the members of the ducal family. Suddenly, Lord Alfred's mother asked her to call her mother-in-law if it didn't trouble her. She seemed surprised, so the mother said she could forget about it if she disliked it. She said she knew she couldn't be a substitute for her late parents. Mithril was now more surprised and thanked her while calling her mother-in-law. And she asked her to call her Mithril because all her close ones call her that. Next time, she asked Mithril to bring her little brother along too for a visit. In the next scene, Lord Alfred noticed that Lady Mithria had not stopped talking about his mother. It seemed they had become very close since she began teaching her etiquette. He then saw Ariella and called her name. She greeted him too and said she was honored that he still remembered her. Alfred asked her to call him Alfred. After all, there was also his brother in the ducal family. If it were any other lady, he wouldn't allow her to address him by his name so directly, but with her, it was fine because she was his fiancé's friend. And for some reason, he felt like she resembled him a little. But when he asked why she was here, Ariella seemed to panic and tried to hide behind a tree. Lady Mithril was there, working. He asked why she was hiding. She said it would be rude of her to interrupt her work. She wanted to see her, but she hadn't met her at all lately. She confessed that she was jealous of him. Lord Alfred realized that they both wished to be the closest to Mithril to remain important in her life, and that was why they felt alike. He responded that he was jealous of her, since she was her childhood friend. If he had met her when they were children, his life might have taken a different path. Mithril noticed them and was surprised. She asked why they were here, and Ariella said she had to deliver something to her brother. Lord Alfred didn't know that she had a brother. She said she joined the Mage Corps last year. He was still naive, and it seemed tough for him. Mithril was so happy to see her dear friend and apologized for not being able to visit her recently. Ariella knew she had been busy and promised to sit together and have tea again once things calmed down. Mithril was so happy that she was an understanding friend. She mentioned to Lord Alfred that Ariella loved cute things, and when they met she wanted to wear the dress he bought for her. He said she should come visit the Duke's estate that day, and he would even prepare a carriage for her. Ariel asked if her dresses were kept at the Duke's estate, and she confirmed her. She explained that there was not enough space at her home to store them. She didn't want her to misunderstand, though, as if she was treating the Duke's estate like it was her personal dressing room. Lord Alfred mentioned that he bought so many of them, and it was only natural to provide her with a place to store them. After that cute conversation, Ariel told her to do her best at work and left. After she left, Lord Alfred held Mithril's hand and asked her to come to the Duke's estate on the next holiday. She said she would, and he thanked her. He then suddenly excused himself and left her confused. His hand was also trembling a little. On the next holiday, Mithril went to the Duke's house and was greeted by her mother-in-law. She wondered what they were going to do today. Her mother-in-law said she would be happy if she would always stay by Alfred's side. She happily said, "Of course." Lord Alfred arrived and complimented her on her dress. After that, he said it was time to go. When she asked where, he said they were going to the royal palace. And there, he was going to tell her why his engagement was annulled in the past. Mithril went along with him curiously. She was pretty amazed by the royal palace, though. She never imagined the day would come when she would step into the royal palace. But she still wondered why they were talking about this in the palace specifically. He responded that it was because the annulment of his engagement didn't just involve the ducal family, it also concerned the royal family. She wondered if it was really that big of an issue, and asked if she was allowed to hear about it. Lord Alfred responded that it was her duty to know since she was his fiancé. She comfortably accepted listening to him. After that, they saw the third prince. Of course, Mithril didn't know who he was and only recognized him from the other day. But when Lord Alfred greeted him, she learned who he was. Prince Kenich apologized for not telling her before and introduced himself again. Mithril deeply apologized for her rudeness, but the prince wanted her to relax. He thanked her for guiding him the other day, but Mithril was still feeling bad for being rude. He told her that if she kept treating him with such formality all the time, it would make him sad. So he asked her to treat him more casually, but of course there was no way she could do that. But at the very least, Kenich told her to remember the face of one of the royal family, especially since she was a noble. He then informed them that the king and the queen were waiting for them as well. Before entering their room, Mithril thought her heart was going to stop, but she was glad that he was a kind and generous person. Lord Alfred said they were going to meet the king and the queen now, and he had already told them about her in advance. If they were against it, the engagement wouldn't have been approved in the first place. She thought it must be important to the royal family, to the ducal family, and to Lord Alfred as well. Lord Alfred wanted to tell her that there was no need to do this if she didn't want it, but Mithril comforted him that she was fine and it was all right. He was surprised at first, but then felt a lot calmer and opened the door for her.